Hi, boys and girls. It's Fun Friday, but I have to admit that it doesn't really feel like a Fun Friday because, well, you're not here and we're not playing our music and having a dance party, enjoying Fun Friday treats and activities. So I was feeling a little sad, and I bet you have felt a little sad lately too. And everything is very different right now, even for the adults, for the moms and dads and grandparents. And so I thought it was appropriate, since we were supposed to have a show and tell this week where everything was yellow, that you were supposed to bring something from your house that was the color yellow for why, that I would have some of my yellow friends join in on our message, because yellow is a happy color and it does make us think of some happy things. And because you've done such a great job with the calendar this week, I went ahead and put it up for you, and I thought we could take a break from actually doing it today, but thought that you would want to recognize that our muchacha girl here, 27, she has a yellow colored border. So when I saw that, it cheered me up on this Fun Friday, March 27th, 2020. So we're going to read a book about feelings, and how about we make some Play-Doh? That always cheers me up, especially if I can do it with you. My Many Colored Days by Dr. Seuss. We enjoyed celebrating his birthday not that long ago. And this book has illustrations that are paintings by Steve Johnson and Lou Fancher. I have loved this story for a very long time. It's a very appropriate book to get out right now. We're experiencing lots of different feelings, and so while you're reading this book, and even afterwards, if you're working in your journal, or if you're drawing or listening to music, you can think about the way certain music makes you feel, and then you can also think about music that you might like depending on the mood you're in. So this book uses the colors. Some days are yellow, some are blue. On different days, I'm different too. It's also a rhyming book, so you can pick out the words that rhyme. You'd be surprised how many ways I change on different colored days. Do you see that? Ways and days. On bright red days, how good it feels to be a horse and kick up my heels. On other days, I'm other things. On bright blue days, I flap my... Good job. Use your picture clue and think of your rhyming word. Some days, of course, feel sort of brown. Then I feel slow and low, low down. Here's our yellow page. Then comes a yellow day, and I am a busy, buzzy bee. Gray day. Everything is gray. I watch but nothing moves today. Then, all of a sudden, I'm a circus seal on my orange days. That's how I feel good. Green days, deep, deep in the sea. Cool and quiet fish. That's me. On purple days, I'm sad. I groan. I drag my tail. I walk alone. But when my days are happy pink, it's great to jump and just not to think. Oh, then come my black days. Mad and loud. I howl. I growl at every cloud. That was like Master M in the alphabet mystery. Then comes a mixed up day, and wham! I don't know who or what I am. I think things feel a little mixed up right now, don't they, boys and girls? But it all turns out all right, you see. And I go back to being me. The end. Okay, so I'm going to try to just move through this fairly quickly so I can get this up for y'all. But this is a recipe that we make at school quite often. It's an easy, what they call no-cook recipe. It takes 2 cups of flour, which I've already measured out here, and a half a cup of salt, and 2 of these tablespoons of cream of tartar. And that's probably the one thing you might not have at home right now. The other thing you need is vegetable oil. And then this is not a necessity, but this glycerin is helpful to add at the end, but I've made it many times without it. So don't let it stop you from making it. The cream of tartar can be found in the spices section and or be ordered. I order it in bulk for school, but let's just get started. We'll put our 2 cups of flour in. I like to pour the salt from high. It's fun to watch. It's a lot of salt. That's why Play-Doh is not good to eat. It makes it way too salty. And then here's your cream of tartar, the 1 tablespoon. And now I will stop and add another. Then comes our vegetable oil. We use 2 tablespoons of that. The kids really can help measure out and add these ingredients into this bowl. The one part that must be done by an adult is adding some hot water, which is boiling hot, so only for adults only. I usually heat it up in this pot that we use for our mom's tea. So just over a cup or so. You don't want to get too much. And then it's best, if you're trying to color the Play-Doh, to go ahead and put the color into the hot water. It helps intensify the color. Today, of course, we need to make yellow. And this is a gel food coloring. They say that that is better. But I've made some blue a little earlier, so with the regular kind. So whatever you have on hand is great. So I'm going to give that a little mix. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up a little too. Spread out the flour and the salt, the cream of tartar, and the oil. This is all that's in there. And then you can just pour in your color. Again, this is the hot water still, so we're not having the kids touch it at this point. They can certainly be watching and overseeing, but you're going to want to use a spoon, a spatula, or something to mix this in, because even for an adult, this would be too hot to touch just yet. It is amazing how quickly it cools down though. But that's why they call this a no-bake recipe, because you're not having to be at the oven, which for many years, that's where I did it. But it really is a great recipe, because you can just do it at your kitchen island or the table, and then you can just test it first. It feels really good. It's just nice and warm now, safe to touch. And what we usually do is we will put a little bit of flour down, kind of in what we call a workspace. And the children can keep kneading this, because right now it's a little sticky still, but it's because the ingredients are still mixing together, and it's their job, can be their job, to continue to knead it and really play with it and work it in. And you can add some flour as needed. If you need more of the water, you'll have a little bit of that left. Most of the time, we just usually need a little bit of the flour. So you can keep kneading. It's fun to knead it because it feels like you're already starting to play with it. And then that's when, if you do have the glycerin, you can give it a drop or two. It's a little secret ingredient for stretch and shine, but again, totally optional. Looks like we have a nice cheerful batch of yellow Play-Doh. And if you put this in Tupperware, it'll keep nicely. Another story that I thought about today when I was getting out my All Things Yellow was the story we read on G Week. And we read it on G Week because it's called Little Blue and Little Yellow. And it's a story about when they got together one day. And so I thought maybe it would be fun, even though usually our rule is not to mix Play-Doh, so that when a student is going for a certain color, they can find it. But how about if we take these two and mix them up? What do you think will happen, boys and girls? It's going to take a little bit of mixing. Of course, Miss Pop only has one hand right now, but I think if we need, maybe get a little bit more of that flour in there, if we need a little more of that flour. What's happening? Oh my goodness, without even getting any more food coloring out. We've got a new color going, don't we? And if you have certain colors that you're looking to make and you want it to be a little bit more of one or another, like this one could really have a little more yellow to it. I think my blue one was bigger to start with. You can just, it's very therapeutic. So moms and dads, you might want to get into it yourself. But definitely you need to make it with a parent or an adult because of the hot water. But it really only takes a couple minutes for it to cool down and get started. We do it right in the classroom and play with it immediately. So let's see how this green looks. Pretty good. Definitely a difference of color. And then take that Play-Doh, boys and girls, take it and do some fun things with it. I'll remind you over here on this other table of some of those things. So you can have fun with Play-Doh and also work on your letters, making them and sounding them out. You can roll these little snakes with your hand, which we always love to do. And remember how I was talking about those curved letters work great when you use Play-Doh. It's very forgiving. You can just break off the size you need and add to your letter, and then see if you can use the piece on a different one, and even start spelling words like yes, 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 we will have hope. This is another fun idea. You don't have to use cookie cutters. You can make a plate of cookies and open a little bakery in your house by rolling out the Play-Doh with a roller, even just patting it down with your hand and making little cookies. And you can also make just your own thing, like just taking chunks and start feeling shapes and maybe get some things out from a craft shelf or cabinet. This reminded me of our Glad Monster, Sad Monster book. It's another good book on feelings. And so if you have some wiggly eyes, sometimes we like to give our monsters lots of eyes and a few little feathers for hair. And our pretty little butterfly. And if you don't mix in this time, you can pull this off and put it with the right color, but still get to use it with like a little pipe cleaner antenna. But I think we've seen a lot of good bakeries over the years. And so if you just get a baking tray, and so you're not really putting it in the oven, but you can get out some fun little plastic plates and baking trays and set up shop and maybe make a little sign that you are open for business. Don't forget, if you do make some Play-Doh, to store it in an airtight container so it will last a while. And also, for a bonus ingredient, if you're ever wishing to add a little scent to your Play-Doh, there's lots of different options, from vanilla to peppermint. For the holidays, we use cinnamon and pumpkin spice. So whatever you're feeling, have fun. This is our last activity coming to you today from our light bulb lab. And this is a fun game called the memory tray. It's one that we've done at summer camp and even after the bell. So if there's an older sibling, I bet they would enjoy this too. And once you play a few times, you get the hang of it and you can use more items. You can start with fewer items than this on the tray till you get the hang of it, but it's definitely more of a challenge when there's a few extra items on there. So you can just go around your house. Today we use things that are yellow, of course, but you can pick, really anything can be used for this game, and any type size tray or plate, or even just laying them on the table. But we like to call it the memory tray. So it's a defined space. You can sort of memorize the way things look on there and play the game where everything stays the same. So it's also remembering place, location, or if they start to have fun and get good at it, you can mix it up. But basically what happens is you sit in a group around the tray, and you pick a participant to go first, and they go away from the area and hide their eyes so they don't see the item that the rest of the group decides to take off the tray. And once you've removed that item, you call the person back to look around and see if they can remember what it was that is now missing. So for instance, I might take this little lizard and hide it out of sight. You can use even a little bag so it's not tempted to be seen, but definitely remind everyone not to say what it is. And then the guesser pretty much gets unlimited guesses, and because really once they see, they're not going to guess scissors because they're looking at the scissor, or they're not going to guess pipe cleaner because there it is. So, but I would definitely set a timer if it goes on too long. But you'll be amazed at how well some kids are, how well they do at this game, and it's good for their mind, and it can be done outside or inside. And so we just hope you enjoy.